Welcome to my channel, The Binge Eating Therapist. I'm Sarah, former binge eater turned psychotherapist, and my mission is to use this space to bring content to you to help you understand your struggle with food and break free from binge eating. And now recovery is more than just a behaviour change. We think recovery means that we stop binging, but actually in order to be able to stop binging, it involves dismantling a whole belief system. Because there will be a belief system that is driving the binge eating. I think it's one of the reasons why people get so stuck when they try to recover, because they try to recover by just trying to stop binging. They just think they can decide to change their behaviour, and they find themselves back at square one quite often because of this belief system. So I've come up with 6 beliefs that I hear over and over again, and I certainly believed all of them. And I'd be very surprised if you don't relate to at least half of them. So the first one is, I binge because I don't have enough willpower. Willpower, right? This idea that somehow the reason why you're still stuck in this is because you're not putting enough effort in. I think this is such a damaging belief, and it keeps people so stuck. And as Kelly McGonigal said, you don't need willpower unless there is a conflict of will. Okay, so binge eating is a conflict. It's a conflict between two parts of you, the part that wants to binge, that wants to numb, escape, or perhaps a response to restriction, and the part of you that doesn't want to binge. And these two parts are kind of at war with each other, and that is tiring. This conflict is inside you, so whichever side wins, part of you has to lose. So without looking at this conflict and trying to bring in some mediation, and mediation normally looks like balance, because the conflict is normally between the all or the nothing, right? That's what keeps you in conflict, so you're swinging between the two. We need to find that middle ground, that balance. So you may be looking at someone else and thinking, oh, they have so much willpower around food, but if they're not conflicted around food, they're not using willpower to manage their eating, because they're not experiencing the same conflict. And the next belief that comes up, normally mid-binge or within the binge time, and that is, I have to finish this food now so that I'm not tempted later, or so because I'm not going to be eating these foods anymore. So that idea of you may be halfway through a packet of something and you can recognize that actually you feel full, you feel a bit sick, and you notice that you're not even enjoying this anymore. But that belief tells you that you need to just get rid of it, because if you can get rid of this food, then later on you won't be tempted, the food won't be there, and you'll be able to be good or on track, or whatever language it is that you tell yourself in your mind. That fear of having these foods around, and it's one of the reasons why the permission part is so important, because when you know you can have that food again, it's okay for the food to be there. When the food creates so much anxiety, and when it's there, your experience is always that you binge on it, that's going to kind of perpetuate, so you feel like you need to get rid of it all. So the intuitive eating principles really help with that one. And the next one is that belief that I'm too broken to sort this out. It's okay for other people. Like, you might look at other people's accounts, or people who talk about, like myself, who talk about being recovered from binge eating, and go, it's okay for you because, I don't know, you're younger, or because my body is bigger than I imagine yours has ever been, or whatever you might tell yourself. For me, because I had so much hormonal health problems going on that I think was really having an impact on my appetite, my reason was like, I'm more broken than anyone else because I've got all this biological stuff going on. So there's no way I can, recover. There's no way I can find a way to manage this. And it's dangerous because we're making assumptions. And when we do that, when we say that we're the ones too broken, we separate ourselves from people who are actually on a very similar path to us. So we say that, oh, I'm different. And I think that separation increases a sense of shame, increases a sense of despair and hopelessness. But when we look for the similarity in our stories, we can start to see that, yes, of course there are differences, but there are so many similarities. Just this video will show that in some of the beliefs that come up again and again for people. Like, a lot of us are thinking the same thing and going through the same struggle. It's always going to look slightly different because of our circumstances. But when we believe that somehow we're more broken than someone else, we can't hear and take the wisdom perhaps from their journey and what they've learned and apply it to ourselves, because we think that we're too different. And the next one, very derailing for a lot of people, is if I'm not losing weight, then what's the point? So if you blame binge eating for the size of your body at the moment, there can be that fantasy that if you just stop binge eating, your body's going to just shrink down. And for a lot of people, their body shapes might change. And for some people they don't, or changes might happen slowly, or changes might not need to happen. But for years, part of this conflict with binge eating has been about this desire to lose weight. So for years, or however long this has been going on for you, like, recovery for you has probably looked like getting to your ideal body shape, right? So if we're looking at this belief, we need to step back and think, well, what is it we imagine that weight loss is going to give us? Okay, a lot of the time we think it's going to mean that we're going to be more comfortable in our bodies, that we're going to be more confident, that we're going to take more opportunities in life. Maybe we'll take more risks. Maybe we'll feel able to do things that we've been procrastinating over. All these things that we imagine weight loss is going to give us, I would argue, is available to us now. We don't need to wait for it. There's this idea that if we get our weight to where we want to be, that's when we start to feel good. And okay, if you've had that experience, or even if that does actually happen, your feeling good is so precarious, it's so conditional on your body staying a certain size. What if you had an accident tomorrow and ended up on steroids and your body got bigger again? Does that mean all that newfound confidence and how you felt about yourself disappears? Do we really want that to be so fragile and so contingent on the shape of our bodies? So this idea that the whole point of it is to lose weight, I think the question to ask is why? What is it you think weight loss will give you? And can you think about how that potentially could be available to you right now? And the next one, I think, really gets in the way for people when they're feeling like they've been making progress and they feel like they've gone back to square one because they might be back binging when they weren't for a while. And this is the belief that recovery is really hard. This idea that recovery takes an enormous amount of work, an enormous amount of effort. You look at where you are now at point A, and you look at recovery over here at point B, and it looks like this big mountain that you're going to have to climb. And any moment you could lose your footing and end up back at point A again. With that idea of recovery, it doesn't sound like a particularly appealing process. Is it possible that recovery could actually be an enjoyable process? That you could enjoy the process of recovery as opposed to, I've got to slog my way through this fight to try and fix myself, and then at the end I'll be fixed and then I can feel good. I don't know, recovery sometimes I think is about learning to feel good. And on the journey to recovery for something like this, it really involves getting back in touch with yourself, increasing self-awareness, like just developing a better relationship with yourself, not recovering and then suddenly having a better relationship with yourself. So I'm not saying that recovery doesn't take some effort, and I'm not saying that there won't be times when it might feel hard, but that actually the process itself could be a really good one. Like nobody recovers from binge eating and goes, oh, recovery was horrific. Like I had a terrible couple of months recovering and now I feel good. I don't think that's how it happens. Like along the way you start to feel better and better, and that's, I think, the motivating part. And yeah, there'll be times when you feel like you're back at point A, because there'll be times when old feelings, thoughts and behaviours are back. But because I don't see it as this linear climb, I don't see that as going back to point A. I just see that as that's where you are now, and you can go straight back to where you were before once you find a way to rebalance and figure out where you need to put your focus that brings you closer towards peace and freedom around food. And the last belief is one that I struggled with on a daily basis for years. And that is the belief, I'll do it tomorrow, whatever it might be. It might sometimes be a particular way of eating, it might be a very concrete behavioural thing, but it might even be like, let's say you're trying to be more present with food, or you're trying to get more in touch with your feelings, to even say, I'm going to start doing that tomorrow. It's always tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And I think that in the moment though, you really 100% believe it. You completely convince yourself that tomorrow you're just going to wake up and do all the things you've been struggling to do today and feel better, and you're just going to, it's almost like this fresh start that we have every day, and we get to the end of the day and we're tired and depleted sort of mentally and emotionally, and we're like, tomorrow, I'll do this tomorrow. And then at some point, like, I had this question, and I can't remember if I heard the question somewhere or if it was a question that came from me. Maybe I should say the question found me. And the question was to ask myself, what makes me think I'm going to be able to do tomorrow what I'm struggling to do today? Like, when we ask that question, quite often we don't know. We keep trying to, let me put it this way, that the only time you really have control is in the moment. That's it. The future's too variable. Variable as in you don't know how you're going to feel tomorrow, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't even know how you're going to be thinking tomorrow yet. And this is why I think intention is helpful, because intention is about where you put your focus rather than telling yourself you're going to feel, be and act a certain way. Like, I just don't think that's possible, and I think we get ourselves stuck with it over and over again. The idea that we only have now and change happens now. And if recovery can be seen as an enjoyable process, you're more likely to choose recovery now. So, let me know if you relate to any of these, and I'll see you on the next video.